AV in your ears, that's Ambush Being, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my voice, Steve, Fascination Street, you already know, let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you...
This is John Grossman from Uncle Lucius, and you are listening to Fascination Street Podcast.
AV in your ears, that's Ambush Being, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my voice, Steve, Fascination Street, you already know, let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Grammy-winning worldwide phenom concert pianist Jeffrey Biegel. In this episode, we get to know Jeffrey. We talk a little bit about how, as a young child, he had hearing loss issues that forever changed the way he looked at and felt music. And then we talk about some of his teachers on his path to become one of the country's great concert pianists. He shares all kinds of stories, including getting to see Liberace play in person when he was only 8 years old, getting to spend 2 hours with the iconic Lucille Ball, after a random encounter with Zsa Zsa Gabor, what? And even what he learned playing pieces for the actual living composer. He tells a wonderful story about getting to play the Battle of Revolt for its composer Harold Severud. And then we talk about what it means to commission a piece of work and why that's important to the music industry. I ask him about a few specific pieces that he had a hand in creating and or wrote himself and why he decided to do them. And then we talk about his current project, which is Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue, a piece that was put together by Jeffrey Biegel and Peter Boyer to honor both George Gershwin and the United States of America. It is a wonderful piece. It is just under 18 minutes long, and Jeffrey has agreed to let me play it. Now, you know I'm not going to play an 18-minute song, but I am going to play my favorite section of that piece. I can't thank Jeffrey enough. Look for him everywhere on the YouTubes, and if you're looking to see where he is going to perform near you, so you can personally see him tickle those ivories, you'll just have to Google it, because he does not post his touring schedule, but he plays all the time, all over the place. So Google him, Jeffrey Biegel. Go check him out. Go watch this man live. I promise you it'll be an opportunity that you don't want to miss, and it'll be a memory that you keep for the rest of your life. And this is my conversation with American classical pianist Jeffrey Biegel.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Jeffrey Biegel. What's up, dude?
I'm in Wichita, Kansas today, and then I go to Tucson on Monday, so I kind of just like live for today.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then I have to teach a master class and leave here at 11:05. I'm just trying to make sure I have everything in the way it's supposed to be so I don't forget.
You're teaching a master class today?
Yes.
In what?
Piano. We're doing Wichita State University. I'm teaching 4 wonderful students, and I've never met them. It'll be a 2-hour class that's open to the public, and people get to hear them play, and I get to coach them and teach them just to help them make it better. That's about it.
So this is going to be a hands-on thing where they're going to be sitting in front of a piano?
They're going to play a piece they prepared, and right after they play, I help them to make it better however I can. Usually their teacher will be there, so I never try to change anything. I always try to just kind of work alongside what the teacher's done and just give them some fresh ideas from the outside in and see if it helps. That they call that a master class.
How long have you been doing these master classes?
Well, the classes, I started doing them in the 1980s, like 40 years ago.
Get right on out of the city.
Gosh, yeah, I mean, I was 24 and I gave 25. I gave a master class at Aspen Music Festival. And yeah, I was teaching early on in addition to the performances. I love teaching, when they're all different levels. You get all kinds of different people that come in with different things. Like one guy the other day, he's a 2-term Bachelor of Arts in Music student. and he learned the Bach's first prelude, the pretty one, the C major that everybody knows.
Uh-huh.
And he composes also. I said, play something you've composed. He starts playing, it sounds like Bach with the rolling chords. I said, you know what you got there? And I loved his harmonies. I said, you need to keep doing this and write a piece called Prelude After Bach. And then you get it published and sell it. You can make money with what you're doing. So they don't have to just be, top drawer piano majors trying to vie for that one big prize to have a career in music. That's just talking about Fascination Street. It's fascinating to understand the various components and areas and avenues of what people could do to actually put food on the table as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the way it used to be, although even back in the day, it wasn't so easy. In some ways, it's easier now because you have more technology and you could do more things.
If you know how to use it.
If you know how to use it. And stereotypes are still there, but I think the walls have come crumbling down a bit insofar as some of them.
Stereotypes in what way?
Well, if you wanted to be a pianist, you had to go to a major conservatory of music, have a great teacher, learn all the basic standard traditional repertoire, enter competitions, try to win, get concerts, eventually get a manager, and they make you a star. Well, it's not like that. And then what do? Even if you're lucky enough to put all those pieces in your puzzle and then you're playing what everybody else is playing, there's Fascination Street there. It's fascinating to know that that's not going to be so easy because everybody else is playing the same Beethoven sonata that you made yourself a star with. Yeah, it's an unusual avenue to go.
Jeffrey, what I like to do is I like to start from the beginning. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised, man? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Long Island. I was born in Forest Hills, home of the great U.S. Open before they moved over to the tennis center in Flushing Meadow Park. I'm not a tennis player. My sons are. They play tennis. I don't. But Forest Hills Hospital, I was born, and I had 3 older siblings, parents. My dad was youngest captain in the New York City Police Department back in the day.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
How come you didn't be a cop?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know your grandfather was a lieutenant, right?
Yes.
Family business. How come you didn't be a cop, man?
I don't know, but it's interesting. So many things come up sometimes, and a lot of the things I learned from Dad about that, I actually have translated into what I do, basically in the business of music. He would say things like the rookie cops, they would ask him, how do you know when something's not right? Because you get a nose for it. You get a sense. You could be walking the beat at night and see some guys walking that look sketchy. They could be doing absolutely nothing. But you just watch and you observe and you get a sense if they're up to no good. They'd say, what other advice can you give us? He'd say, keep your nose clean. I remember that phrase. And so, in music, it's very similar. You have to get a sense of people and what their directives are, what their intentions are, what their wants are, what their needs are, and what their direction is and what they're doing, whether they're running an orchestra, conducting an orchestra, whatever. You keep your nose clean, and you also have to get a sense. Your nose picks up. Is this the right situation? Do I pursue these people for this project or that project, and why? So I learned all that along the way. Starting out as a toddler, not being able to hear, which my parents didn't realize till I was 3.5, through various physicians. And when they realized I couldn't hear and there was some fluid issues blocking the eardrums, then they had surgery for that. So, I was speaking with somebody about that the other day, and it's something I never thought about until my late 20s when I was being interviewed before a concert somewhere. And it was my normal, so it really wasn't anything to talk about, but it really does have a way of seeping into the things I say because it made me do what I do and respond in everything that I do, because when you can't hear, you have to use other communicative skills, which could be seeing, also sensing what's around you because you don't have eyes behind your head. So I would always I still do, looking behind to see if anyone's there. And usually as a child, you listen, you respond. I didn't. So it became a different way of communication. And of course, music became a language. So the way I play the piano, I was very inhibited as a child, but I learned quickly I could play like greased lightning, like they'd say. I just ate up the music so quickly. Within 3 years, from 7 to 10 age, I was playing Revolutionary Etude of Chopin, Beethoven Pathetique Sonata. I did all the Clementi sonatinas, and then I learned the Mozart Concerto at 11, and the Mendelssohn First Concerto at 12, and then the Schumann and the Grieg Concertos at 13. I was just really playing proficiently at a young age. But musically, I was doing what my teacher said, play a little softer here, play a little louder there, phrase this, do that. But the feeling coming out of the fingers is another story. How your fingers follow your voice of who you are, and how I learned not to play the piano from your fingers, but from your core. And it's just a part of me that I could sense within, even before a pianist plays the first note, what it's going to sound like based on the preparation to the instrument, the approach. And I just went through school like a normal kid, did all the secondary education. And then at 16, I auditioned for the teacher I ended up with at Juilliard.
I'm sorry, you auditioned for Juilliard at 16?
No, I auditioned for the teacher.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was just before turning 18, auditioned and got into the school.
So you were working with the teacher before you actually got accepted to the school? Oh, okay.
And her assistant, yeah. And then I just followed the course of study, just learning the repertoire. But when I was 12 years old, the teacher I had at the time was Morton Estrin. He was a wonderful American pianist and teacher.
Isn't that Billy Joel's teacher?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Check you out.
Yeah. Billy studied with Morty, I think, till he was 12. But Billy had his own voice. I don't know if he read music after age 12 a lot, or he just had his own voice. And from what I knew, he wasn't one who would just sit down and practice what he was given by Morton Estrin. And he would do his own thing, and it sure worked out. And his classical voice is beautiful. All the pieces that he created that they put together later on are just very beautiful pieces. Anyway, so Morty was great. I was 12 years old. He gave me a piece of music that was handwritten by a composer named Meyer Kupferman. He said, I don't have time to learn this. Here, you do it. Here I was, this 12-year-old kid. And I learned it. And then I went to play the piece for the composer in Manhattan, in New York. That was a seed that took me on a journey through a yellow brick road of learning new music and seeing living composers as kind of like Bach, Beethoven, and the Mozarts of our day. And it kind of made the composers from the past look more human to me. So over the years, I did all the training at Juilliard, and then started entering competitions. And then in my 20s, I got to play some new pieces that were for competitions. You had to learn a new work. And I met a composer who was 91 years old in Norway. And he wrote a piece that I learned for the competition. And after I played it, I wish he had met me before. We were backstage, and he grabbed my arm and held it. I thought he was going to break it. He says, do you know what those short notes, those short, sharp, accented notes in the left hand were that were like, boom, boom, like that? I didn't know. But you see, only a composer could share this with you. He says, those were the gunshots during the war. Well, how would I ever think of that? Then in the 90s, I started to play works by living composers like Lalo Schifrin. He came to hear me play his second piano concerto in Honolulu back in 92. Then he invited me to play Beethoven Emperor Concerto in California with his orchestra. And then he asked me to record that piano concerto he heard in Honolulu that he wrote in Germany for a film soundtrack. It's a fabulous concerto, the Concerto of the Americas. And I got bit by the bug. These living composers, Lalo Schifrin was a genius. He was just a brilliant, brilliant person. And came 1998, I decided to do something for the Millennium that was never done before, the world's largest consortium of orchestras ever assembled for a new piece of music. And it was with Taaffe Zwilich. She was the first woman to win the Pulitzer Prize in music. So I created this project and gave it the title Millennium Fantasy, and it gave her something to work with. It's a great piece, 2-movement piece. 20 years later, they say, we should do more music by women composers. I said, I did that 20 years ago, guys. You're late. I didn't do this, as Ellen would say. I don't want people to do my music because I am a woman composer, and I don't want them not to do it because I'm a woman composer. I wanted Ellen because her music was very well respected and performed by orchestras. And I thought, well, I need somebody, a composer whose music is respected and embraced and performed to do a project like this. And I raised all the money for Ellen and the copying costs of the music. We had 27 orchestras in 25 states.
That's amazing.
Yeah, after that, I decided to do a 50-state project with Charles Strauss, composer of Annie and Bertie.
Let's go back to 1988. I think it was 88. You said you were playing?
98.
Oh, well, no, we're going to go back to the guy with he grabbed your arm and said, do you know what the boom, boom, boom is about?
Yes.
Was that Harold Severud?
That was in 88. Yes, Harold Severud.
And it was the Battle of Revolt, right?
Yes.
What have you learned about playing music for the actual composer? I know that you said it was impactful, but what about it was so impactful to you by actually getting to play it for the person?
You get feedback. I can't call Beethoven, but I could get feedback from composers. And, many times if you have an idea that you think makes it easier to play something or just more effective, knowing the composer well enough and being into the piece long enough, they start to respect you for playing their music, but also for your ideas. Sometimes you can't overdo it, but, if little things need tweaking, they're very open to it. I mean, I can only imagine that any of the composers of the past would have been open to ideas, but for the most part, they played their own music.
Any of them? Mozart seemed like he wasn't that open to it from the movies.
No, he would have been, because I recorded all 19 sonatas, and most of them have repeat signs for the sections of the movements of the piece, where some of the sonatas are fully written out without repeat signs. And he does do some embellishments and little changes when he repeats the same material. So I applied all that to all the sonatas with repeats. So when I would go back and play the material again, I wouldn't play it again the same way.
Is that a way for a pianist to sort of put their own signature on a classic work?
No, I think it's really putting the composer's signature on the work. I'm just delivering it. I'm the mailman. This is what he would have done if he wrote something like that. Now, Mozart never played anything twice the same way. He was an improviser. That's how he wrote so quickly. And in some of those sonatas, those were the masterclass in why I did what I did, because some of them have straight written out movements. And when he'd bring a theme back, he'd do different things. And I thought, well, if you did it in those, you probably would have done it in the others. You just didn't have time. So he's like, repeat, go back, play it. I could 100% with total genuine honesty, and I would put money on it, say he would not have played the repeats the same as he did the first time through. He wouldn't.
Interesting.
And I don't even know if Beethoven would have.
Really?
He has repeats. Beethoven was very meticulous with what he wrote. If he didn't like something, he scratched it out or he threw it away. With Beethoven's music, you don't really change things or add too much, but certain things with dynamics, like louds and softs, you could do things that make it just a little bit different, but still with a Beethoven hat on. Schubert, the same. Haydn, you could do a little more of what I do with Mozart. Bach, for sure. Bach is loaded with embellishments. I've done a recording of that, and there's various editions of Bach's music because his students wrote them down, and he played them differently every time. Chopin, too. There's 2 or 3 different versions of certain pieces that are different. Case in point, this is Nocturne in C-sharp minor, but it's different in the different editions. Some waltzes, they're different because he also they improvised. They just played. They didn't play things the same. They were in the moment, as Barbra Streisand says, in the moment. I love that line. I'm listening to her book. It's fascinating. It's really great. It's an incredible book, and in her own voice. But in the moment, I learn a lot from that. Just as the study of the music is not just the study of what you see, but it's what you don't see.
That makes sense.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Beneath a dead world, humanity's last survivors live in Subterra.
I care about one thing, keeping Subterra's power uninterrupted. If Subterra goes dark, we are doomed.
A buried city of chipped citizens, forgotten miners, and those who have never seen the sun.
You took a big risk coming here.
I didn't have a choice.
Go back home, girl. You'll get killed down here, or worse.
But in the lower levels, the unchipped have become invisible, and invisibility breeds rebellion.
We want justice for our dead!
You will
learn to obey.
When a rigged trial ignites the darkness, a blind orphan, a bunker princess, and a rebuilt combat robot are thrown into a fight that could change everything.
Fellow citizens of Subterra, you are here to witness the adjudication of an unchipped bunker orphan known as Ace.
You want me to lie?
I want you to help me clear your name.
By blaming Ace for something he didn't do? He's innocent, and you're gonna kill him.
What I have set in motion will change this place forever. There will be a new order in Subterra, and it will not be kind to people like you.
No. I'm staying here.
Stay here, then. Stay and die.
Because underground, hope doesn't disappear. It survives.
Let the battle begin!
Advance!
Defend your home! Defend your brothers and sisters!
Subterra.
Available now. Download wherever you find podcasts.
Let's get back into it.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
55 years ago this year at the Westbury Music Fair, Theater in the Round, you got to see Liberace in person. You was just a wee little lad.
I was 8.
What did that do for you as far as keeping you excited about being a pianist or a concert pianist?
There's a word in kind of German Yiddish called schmaltz.
Wait.
It's like schmaltz herring.
Schmaltz. Isn't that chicken fat?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes. But that was the word they would use for pianists back in the day. They would say, you have to play with a lot of schmaltz, which meant lay it on thick, fatty, elegant. It really wasn't so much referred to as fat. But
a lot of flair.
Flair, but elegance, flamboyance, brilliance. I think the word elegant is the most applicable for music.
Okay.
And that he certainly did. Victor Borge did too. I met Victor and spent a few hours with him. I was almost his new funny man, another brilliant guy. I didn't get the job because he told Bob Sherman from QXR, who arranged the meeting, that if he hired me to be his funny man on tour, it would have killed my career as a serious artist.
Oh, wow.
But these guys were incredible. They were elegant, beautiful pianists. And Liberace was just bigger than life. I'm not going to do that, but I did actually in October 2019 play Le Tombeau de Liberace by Michael Dougherty with the Toledo Symphony. And we found like a fur coat for me to walk on stage with. And I did.
Oh, okay. That's so funny. The reason that's funny is because I was listening to, you did an interview with the local Toledo NPR station leading up to that, like earlier that day. And I was...
Did you listen to it? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I was listening to that. The host, I can't remember his name, but he said, is there anything special that you're going to wear? And you said, well, I can't really say, to be determined. So I'm glad that I got to find out that it was a fur coat. Thank you so much.
It was. I wore it, and the guy who worked for the orchestra, Matty Sayer, he's terrific. When Victor Borge would go on stage, his son Ron would come out and help him kind of be his, dress man. So I would take it off, and then Matty took the coat away and walked off stage. Everybody went crazy. And I played the piece, which is a wonderful, not easy, but wonderful tribute to Liberace, Michael Dougherty's piece. It's terrific. That was the last time I played it, but I did learn it.
That was the last time you played it. It was 2019, and yet you still remember the name of the guy who took your coat off stage.
Oh, sure. Then you stay in touch. The business with music is you just make relationships. Well, it's not just with the conductors, but all the managers of the orchestra. Even this morning, I was texting with someone who just got another job somewhere, and you just stayed friends with people because you're all in the business together, whether you're making the music or you're paying for it or you're managing it, whatever it is. It's like one big happy family, and some people are not in your family and some are, just like anything else.
That sounds like a real community.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know if you've answered this question a million times. I'm sure you have, but why did you decide to go the classical route? I mean, you got all of these people that are growing up, or you're growing up around you. You got Liberace, you got whatever, Billy Joel, just all the people who play piano that are not classical. What made you go the classical route? How come you didn't start a band like Bo Donaldson and the Haywoods, where that guy's the piano player?
I loved pop music. To me, the 60s was the greatest decade because every year was a different sound. You knew it was 66. You knew it was 69. You knew it was 64. The progress of pop music, I think, was at its peak in the 60s. In the 70s, you had rhythm and blues and soul and funk and disco, and, then you had R&B, and 80s were, when David Foster, changed the Chicago group sound. That was great. Those songs were fabulous. David's incredible. You had a good music, but the 70s were really, really peak worthy. I loved all that music. I was not an improviser or a jazz artist, but I went classical because when I was 6 or 7, I heard a recording of Vladimir Horowitz playing the Beethoven Appassionata, the F minor. That was the point of identity. That was when music chose me and I chose music.
Really?
And maybe just because I heard it, and the fact that Beethoven, when he was like 28 when he realized he was going deaf, and I think he wrote it, and it was pivotal for him, the anger and the anguish of knowing that as a musician you're going to lose your hearing. I mean, it's like telling an Olympic skater that they can't walk. That was pivotal for me. And I just started going through, everybody had a piano in the house. They took piano lessons. You did the John Schaum series or the John Thompson, whatever. And so I went through all the John Schaum books, the green book, the red book, the blue book, the purple book, and all the Hanon exercises, scales, arpeggios, all of it. Then I went to another teacher. And then I went to Adele Marcus. It was all classical training. You didn't really play much pop music unless your grandparents wanted to hear you play, the medley, the Fiddler on the Roof. So when I went to Juilliard, I started writing choral music. So I wrote some sacred a cappella psalms for SATB choir, double choir, whatever. And then I wrote holiday music, Christmas in a Minute, Hanukkah fantasy, whatever. I liked writing things for holiday too. So it was a classical foundation. But then as I got older, I started to go to pop artists who were famous, like Neil Sedaka and Jimmy Webb, Peter Tork, Melissa Manchester.
Peter Tork? Oh, sorry.
Peter wrote a piece for me. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. I met him once, and he's rattling off things about music he knew about Robert Schumann and Janacek. How do you know these things? He says, oh, I know. Well, I know stuff,
Don't tell Mickey, but Peter was my favorite monkey.
Peter was very interesting. We stayed in touch a long time after that. At first he said he can't do it, then he did, and he worked with an orchestrator that was a student of Kenneth Fuchs, who wrote a concerto for me up in Hartford. It was a quirky, fun piece. You could probably hear it online somewhere if you look up Peter Tork, Moderato ma non troppo.
Is that the one he wrote for you?
Yeah, it's a quirky, interesting piece, but it's Peter.
Since we're talking about that, and he was my favorite monkey, do you think I could play that song that he wrote for you on this episode?
I don't know, because the orchestra that performed it, they may own the rights to it.
Okay.
So I probably not, but people could probably find it online.
Okay. And how would they find it again? Say it again.
Just do a search. It's called Moderato, Moderato, Manontropo, ma non troppo.
Okay, cool.
Ma non troppo.
What does that mean?
Moderately, but not too much. Whatever it is. That's in music they do, like Beethoven would write allegro ma non troppo, fast and lively, but not too much. Don't go crazy.
Yeah, don't go nuts.
So that's what he did, and it was interesting. Neil Sedaka's Manhattan Intermezzo is a gorgeous piece. He also studied with Adele Marcus, my teacher, and he was supposed to be a classical pianist and started writing pop songs and became a pop legend. But the Manhattan Intermezzo is a beautiful piece.
I have heard you play it, in doing my research, and it's a phenomenal piece.
Isn't it a nice piece?
Yeah, you do it justice.
And then Jimmy Webb and Melissa Manchester. These are all pop people that I grew up with, knowing their music. And when they hit 70 or so is when it's like, they reflect back on their roots and they come up with some really good music.
What do you think it is about that age?
Well, I'm going to be 65 in May. I think just for a few years I've been thinking about it. It's a yellow brick road. You start to think about legacy. How am I going to be remembered? But you want to be authentic about it. I'll never forget this Rhapsody National Initiative project we'll talk about, this large consortium for Rhapsody in red, white, and blue. I have 58 endorsements. One of them is Richard Lewis, the actor.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah. I communicated with him the week before he passed. He wrote an endorsement. I reached out to him and friended him on one of the social medias. Could have been Twitter at the time. And he wasn't too well at the time, but we stayed in touch. I said, I hope you like piano music. And he wrote back, yeah, Rhapsody in Blue and Oscar Levant. And I wrote back to him. I said, you know this? He says, oh, God, yeah. So I sent him my recording of Rhapsody in Blue, and he says, "You played that?" I said, "Yeah." That's just for friendship blossomed. And then when I told him about the Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue project with Peter Boyer composing, I said, "Would you write an endorsement for this?" And he says, "Well, you pen it a little bit and I'll tweak it." And I did, and it's in the list of endorsements, and it's a beautiful quote that I have from him. And he was very interesting man. Very interesting. Brilliant. Oh my gosh, his early routines on Carson, Johnny Carson, were just, he was great. I love the pop music I love.
I gotta know, you mentioned 58 endorsements for this project and that Richard Lewis gave you an endorsement. What is an endorsement in your field? What does that mean that you have 58 endorsements?
Well, it depends on what it's for. So for the Rhapsody National Initiative, it's a project that I created kind of picking up where I left off with the 50 State Project with Charles Strauss in 2000 for Concerto America that he wrote for me. And we had two orchestras involved, Boston Pops and the Hawaii Symphony. But then 9/11 happened, and I decided not to pursue 50 states again.
Did you ever pick it back up?
Yep.
Okay.
I performed that piece by Charles Strauss. It was great.
Okay.
But I picked up the 50 state idea around COVID. The Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue project started in November 2019. And then Peter Boyer finally agreed to do it after I kind of twisted his arm saying, I'm going to be compared to Gershwin, because it was for the Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue Centennial. I said, Maurice Ravel said to George Gershwin in Paris, "Look, better you should be a first-rate Gershwin than a second-rate Ravel." I said, "So you just be a first-rate Peter Boyer rather than a second-rate Gershwin." So he wrote a fabulous piece. Orchestras started joining the project because I raised all the money during COVID when orchestras weren't performing. You couldn't ask them for money, so I did it through foundations and donors. And so I raised all the money to pay Peter Boyer to write this glorious 18-minute piece. And orchestras started coming on board, and one by one, the states started lining up. I had over 15 to 20 states. I thought, you know what? I got a little time. I'm going to bring back my 50-state project. And I did. So right now we have over 68 orchestras. I can't mention the 2 or 3 others that are not public yet. But it's the largest consortium in the history of music for a single new work. And it's a 50-state, 5-year endeavor. And so the endorsements I thought would help get orchestras involved by seeing that it's being supported by people in endorsements. So the endorsement has basically been from lots of people. From David Foster to Betty Buckley, Melissa Manchester, Neil Sedaka, to Emanuel Axe, pianist, and Leonard Slatkin, the conductor, who just got the Nashville Symphony, as music director, Joanne Falletta, actors Dan Lauria, Arnaz Luckinbill, and Hampton Calloway. It's really a very eclectic mix, and I wanted that because I want to let orchestras and the public see it really in 50 years from now, so that they see what we've done now as a country, bringing people together through the power of music and through representing the American flag in music. There's nothing classical like that symphonically for the American flag. So here's Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue, except Antonin Dvorak's The American Flag Cantata for Chorus and Orchestra, 1890s. So I thought, let's do it. So the endorsements basically, some of them are showering me with some accolades, which is okay. It's a little daunting. It's a little embarrassing, but I get it because they're supporting my effort in this project and bringing music through evolution to this point from 1920s to the 2020s. Peter's great for this because a lot of his music does reflect America. His Ellis Island Dream of America is fabulous. Much like his mentors, the people he loved the most were Aaron Copland, Leonard Bernstein, George Gershwin, and John Williams. So their influence is in his music, but his music is original. So those were the endorsements. I wanted it to be an all-encompassing support system.
So they're like letters of endorsement?
They're quotes.
Quotes.
They're all quotes, yeah.
Did you say Dan Lauria? Is that the guy from the Wonder Years?
Yeah.
How do you know him?
Well, I was performing in New Jersey with a chorus and orchestra, a piece that I commissioned by a young composer, Jake Runestad, who's one of the choral world's great composers and conductors. And he decided to write a piece saluting surviving veterans who come home from war, who have fallen out of society and don't know how to fit back in. And they have nightmares and dreams of being at war. So the dreams of the fallen, meaning fallen from society, are reflective of that with poems by war veteran Brian Turner. So at the concert where I played that, they also did the Lincoln Portrait by Aaron Copland, and the conductor is Matthew Oberstein, one of the great conductors I've worked with, who's actually one of the best conductor managers in New York. he brought Dan Lauria in to narrate the writings in the Lincoln Portrait of Aaron Copland. And so that's how we met. We had dinner together, stayed in touch. He's just a veteran A-class actor. He's just terrific. He was in was it SVU or Law and Order? He was in one of the big shows not long ago, but he's fabulous. So we stay in touch.
Are you familiar with that show, The Office?
A little bit.
So there's a guy on there, and he played Jim. He was the guy who was always like just staring at the camera, making jokes. And now he's like Jack Ryan or he's like an action star now. But there was an episode of Law and Order SVU from before The Office. So this would have been, 20 years ago. And that guy played a basketball player at one of the high schools, and Dan Lauria was the coach of that team.
Coach. Yeah.
And it was such an impactful episode. I mean, spoiler alert, Dan Lauria's character was a little handsy with his team, but that episode stood out to me more than his entire arc on The Wonder Years.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not in with the people in Hollywood, but if they kept Blue Bloods going, which I think they should have, and when Tom Selleck left, they should have asked Dan Lauria to take
that.
That
would have been amazing.
He would have been fabulous. It would have been fabulous. Dan would have been the best police commissioner for that show. He's perfect. It's just so typecast. And it would have kept the show going. Yeah. But, I'm not in with those guys.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Streetwalkers. Now there's an official Fascination Street podcast Patreon. The episodes are just as deep, but a whole lot more fascinating. On the Fascination Street Patreon, we're keeping it simple. There is only one tier. No confusion, no levels, no upsells, just one way in. For $5 a month, you'll get every episode ad-free. No interruptions, no distractions, which gives you a more direct connection to the show. And also, there's a place to hang out with fellow streetwalkers and be part of the community on Patreon. If you love the stories, the conversations, and the vibe of Fascination Street podcast, this is the best way to support it and get even more out of it. No tiers, no ads, just $5 and you're in. Welcome to the inner circle. $5, no ads, that's it. Patreon.com/Fascination Street podcast.
Let's get back into it.
What does it mean to commission a piece of music, and why is that an important thing to do in today's musical world?
Well, back in the day, the royalty commissioned the composers like Mozart to write music, and Mendelssohn. They all wrote for the courts, and they got paid. And I felt it was kind of my responsibility as a steward of music, an ambassador of music, whatever. I don't like that word, but a steward. You're actually helping the evolution of what you do. It's like doing research for new drugs. You're in a field that is always evolving, and being stuck in the museum in the past is not going to help it evolve. It's just going to keep that going as long as you can keep the audiences going to hear it. But I felt that it was important to keep the evolution of music going. And I learned that from the pop music from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and, it evolved. And I felt classical music had to do that too. And there was new music, of course, but not so much for piano and orchestra. When you think of pianists playing, they'll do Gershwin Concerto enough. That's a big leap. Ravel Concerto, Rachmaninoff, maybe Samuel Barber's from last century. But after that, last half of the 20th century onward, they didn't. There were some pieces, but they didn't. And I thought, we need to have a new generation, a new century of music for piano and orchestra. And I've also commissioned 3 for piano, orchestra, and chorus that are fabulous. What does it mean to do it? It means you have to have the mindset that you're not going to get paid for all the hours of work you're going to put into it. You're going to be banging on doors, emails, social media, messenger, whatever it takes. Really sending out the new projects with composers to the artistic administrators, executive directors, general managers of orchestras, donors that people who have foundations or money or know people. And the conductors, and trying to find the home for this new piece and to raise the money for the composer. It's a huge undertaking, but I love it. I have a few more coming up in the future, and it's just a fascinating thing to do. And it's important. I think it's important to have new music. Also, a lot of the composers I've commissioned, about 30 pieces or so, I don't know. Many of them are composed by non-pianists. which is very interesting because back in the day, Mozart, Beethoven, Haydn, Schubert, Chopin, Liszt, Brahms, Bartok, Rachmaninoff, Prokofiev, they were pianists writing the concertos. We don't have a Berlioz piano concerto or a Bruckner piano concerto. Purely symphonic composers like that. We don't have piano concertos. Even there's no Sibelius piano concerto, I don't think. There is a César Franck, though, to symphonic variations. But there's very little for piano and orchestra in the last few decades, and I wanted to fill that void. And we did. We really did.
Is that your legacy? Part of your legacy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never know what your legacy is until, and sometimes it's not what you start out doing. I remember being in a car with David Foster, going to the old A&M studios. He said, it's going to be boring. We're just going to be doing string sessions. Yeah. Mort Lindsay was there. Jeremy Lubbock was there. I mean, this was an incredible thing.
Was Herb Alpert there?
No. It was really great.
Previous guest of my show, Herb Alpert?
Oh, my gosh. No, it was great. I met Jeremy Lubbock there. That was interesting. Even Barbara talks about him in her book. He was brilliant. And he ended up writing a piece for me for piano and strings called Moods, which is a beautiful piece. Anyway, so we're in the car, and David says to me, and he was only in his early 50s, here he is thinking about this already. He says, you know what my greatest legacy is? I said, I don't know, your songs, I don't know, The Bodyguard, Whitney, Barbara, Celine, Josh, Michael Bublé. He says, no, my foundation. I was like, really? The David Foster Foundation? He says, hey, that's my legacy. Because it's something he knows will live on, and they help people, families of children needing organ transplants. Raised millions of dollars and had big charity events in Canada, and it's huge. But that's his legacy. So if somebody said, what's your legacy? As much as I love all the I recorded all the Mozart sonatas, did a Bach recording, a Christmas recording, did all these pieces, but the new music, the giving of new repertoire for future generations, I think that's it. And I'll keep doing it. I always say I'm not doing it anymore. Last year I sent this notice around to everybody and I said, this is it. Not doing it anymore. I'm burnt out. I'm exhausted. And I'm like, I guess I can't. You just can't. Everybody says, that's my farewell tour. It's my last performance. It never is. It's never your last performance.
That's so
keep
funny.
Going. Look at Barry Manilow, that brilliant guy. He's wonderful. Met him a couple times. I asked him, I said, piano and orchestra piece? You want to write with it? No, it's not my thing. I'm like, okay. But even with everything he's going through health-wise lately, he's going to get out there and do it again.
Of course he is.
He's prepping to go on tour again. I remember what he said at the Radio City show a couple of years ago. He said, I love it here. I don't want to leave. I love all of you. I love doing this. I could do this every day for the rest of my life. And he will.
Yeah, that's true.
He will. I still would like a piece for piano and orchestra from him, but all right. I have to work on that.
Keep hitting him up on that. Did you really spend 2 hours with Lucille Ball right before she passed?
Yes.
How? Why? How? Why?
Oh, the story. I got to make this one brief. It was 1988. I was playing Prokofiev 3 with the Honolulu Symphony, and I went to some hotel before the concert to have like breakfast or something. And somebody pointed out to me that Zsa Zsa Gabor got into her car with her husband, and I didn't know it was her. I said, oh my God, yeah, that is. So I ran into the hotel and left a message for her. If you'd like to come to this concert, I'm playing, the piece, whatever. Let me know. Here's the hotel number. I thought, she's not going to call. I get back to the hotel I was staying, and there was a note under the door. Please call Zsa Zsa Gabor. So I called her, and she came to the concert. She loved it. And then when I went to play in Pasadena, it was like November of 88, 2 months later, after that Honolulu concert. And I went to her house, and she had this very elderly lady there in her 90s. And Zsa Zsa said, Zsa Zsa was 70. She says, play that Liszt Hungarian Rhapsody that you played, the 12th one. That she knew music. She says, this lady, was my nanny in Hungary, and we take care of her here now.
Aww.
And she was a pupil of Ernst von Dohnányi, the composer. I just sat there and my mouth hung open. I was actually playing a Liszt Hungarian Rhapsody in Zsa Zsa Gabor's house for a pupil of Ernst von Dohnányi. It was such a pivotal moment. I'll never forget that. So then she had a publicist that she talked about me to, and I was only able to hire him for like a couple of months because it was just too expensive and it was starting out. I didn't have that kind of money. And his name was Phil Palladino. He was a terrific guy. And I said, there's one person I've been dying to meet my entire life. It's Lucille Ball. He says, I know her best friend, Paula Stewart. I'll call Paula. So I get back to my hotel in Pasadena, and under the door or the message, whatever, it says, "It's Phil. You're to be at Lucy's house at 4:30 sharp tomorrow." I said, oh my gosh. I remember telling him, just tell her I know every line to her shows. I'd grown up with them. And he said, you know what she didn't understand is why a classical pianist knew who she was or even cared about what she does. Talk about humility. I told this whole story to her daughter, to Lucy Arnaz Luckinbill. We've become very good friends. Hopefully we're going to work together if we can land an orchestra to do this new piece, New Carnival of the Animals, that a friend of mine, Dan Pertu's, just writing now. And Anne Hampton Calloway's written all the poems, so Lucy and Anne are like best friends. So Lucy wants to narrate them. But she says, God, I didn't know that story. My mother used to tell me everything, but I never heard that one. I said, yeah. I said, your mother taught me something I'll never forget. She said, do you just walk out on stage and play, go to the piano and play like that? You're nervous? You just sit and play? So for the most part, that's what we do. We go out there, we take a bow, we sit down, and we play. It's just, oh my gosh. Just, well, I could never do that. You know, talk to the audience or anything? I said, no. Just we would go out and we would talk to the audience, tell them what they're going to see, what they're about to experience. It would break the wall down for us too, because, you know, we were very nervous. And it was kind of a new medium with television. So we were very nervous. And that would ease the stress a little bit. Just you should go out there and talk about the music you're going to play. Just get close to the audience, break down that wall so that you're not as nervous. So I said, I'll have to try it. And I did. And she was right. I remember calling Wanda Clark, her secretary who passed recently. I said, please tell Lucy she was right. It helps me a lot, but it also brings me closer to the music because I'm sharing it with the audience. So that was a little masterclass in performance tactic from Lucille Ball. She was, this morning too, I watched doing the treadmill. I watched I Love Lucy. Every time I watch it now, I realize how great the script writers were and how brilliant they were. What a team. What a brilliant person she and Deb. They were both so brilliant.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you're opening up to the audience about the reasons that you're passionate for the piece you're about to play, then that sort of reminds you, I guess, emotionally, of the reasons yourself that you're excited to play this piece, of your own passion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really good advice. Tell me about the first and second Waltz of Hope songs and the reason behind them.
I never really wrote piano music much, but when COVID hit, I wrote the Waltz of Hope, number 1, and then number 2. They just came out of me. I don't know. Can't really say much more than that. And then when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away later that year in 2020, I wrote Reflection of Justice. So I wrote a piece and I used all the letters of her names, the RBG and Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Kiki, her nickname at the end. I put the K-I-K-I. So you say, well, what is I, N, S, and U? What musical alphabets are those if music is A to G? I just kept going up the scale. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. So I attributed each one of those tones on the keyboard to match their letters, and I would create the themes and the placement of them on the keyboard to make them sound musical. So I created that for her. Ended up playing it with orchestra with Dallas Symphony a year later. It was orchestrated by a student of mine at Brooklyn College, Harrison Scheckler. And it was on a program also with a piece that Ellen Taaffe Zwilich wrote with poems that were written for remembering Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And Denise Graves was our mezzo-soprano and I was the pianist. So it was mezzo-soprano, piano, and orchestra. She was amazing. She just retired, but Denise was fabulous. So then I wrote Reflection of Freedom and Reflection of Equality. Freedom was JFK and equality is MLK. So I wrote them. Those are my 3 pieces and we turned them into a piano concerto. So that was Waltz of Hopes. Those 2 pieces kind of started the creative, not the recreative, other people's music, but the creative process. And that was it. London.
Oh, I love it. Now, I asked you earlier about that Peter Tork track, and obviously because you don't own it, it probably wouldn't be a good idea. Is there a piece that you do own that I could play? I want to give people an idea of the power that is coming out of your little fingertips.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Something you own.
Well, but you could play recordings online like that are not orchestra owned, but like a record label owned. The Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue, Peter Boyers.
I can play that one?
Of course you could use that. I think it's a great piece for them to hear. It's 18 minutes, so I don't know if you're going to play the whole thing.
I probably won't play the whole thing. How do you memorize a piece like that? How do you memorize an 18-minute piece or a 30-minute piece?
I actually have the music in front of me since 2006. So I stopped memorizing all these scores. But I did back in the day memorize everything. The thing as I got older, I decided to just, a lot is memorized, but some of it I still like to have. It's like Linus and this blanket. It's like a security blanket having it there. It's like training wheels. Over time, you learn it. I always tell my students, one way to memorize more quickly is to sing out loud when you practice, because when you sing, you internalize the music, so it becomes part of you that way, and it works.
What do you sing if there's a piece that doesn't have any lyrics? What are you singing?
You're just singing music, or you're doing that, kind of thing.
Okay.
You're not singing words, just songs without words. But singing out loud is a big thing. I teach that all the time, because that helps people play better.
Okay, so let's talk about Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue.
Yeah.
Why?
It was really for the centennial of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue in 2024. I wanted to celebrate that and thought, well, we could celebrate the American flag at the same time. Call it the Rhapsody in Red, White, and Blue. And then it turned into a bigger project than I started it out to be. It ended up that the project was steering the car and I was a passenger. I just went along with it. It ended up bringing people together through music and bringing the orchestras into a project together, showing the unification and strength of the orchestras in this country. Many of them have joined. Many have not, much to my surprise, but be it as it may, we're thrilled with the ones who have. It's a great project. It's actually going to be part of their legacy too, because when conductors open the score to conduct it from with orchestra, on the left side, before the music starts, they'll turn the page, and on the left side will be the description, how long the piece is, duration, the scoring, instrumentation, when it was premiered, and the list of orchestras and their conductors that are in the Rhapsody National Initiative. That's priceless. For me, I just picture conductors doing that in 30, 40 years and seeing that list of orchestras that joined together to create this wonderful family of orchestras in the country with a brand new piece of music to say, we really love this piece. It means a lot to us. And it also honors the American flag. Why not? It's a win-win-win-win for everybody. And they didn't have to pay to belong to it either. I had a few conductors in the projects who said it's such a no-brainer. We're not paying $3,000 to $5,000 or even $1,000 to join the project. We just have to pay the music rental and you, which we'd have to do with other pieces anyway. So for us, it's great. For the orchestras, it's great because they don't have to pay into it. And they're listed in the conductor's score forever. So it's like free,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a different kind of way of doing it.
How did you stumble upon this way of doing that?
It just started happening when I did the first project with Taaffe Zwilich, the Millenium Project, getting orchestras to join together. We had 27 in that. And then a few years later with Charles Strauss, did that project, Concerto America. And then came Lowell Lieberman, a friend of mine from Juilliard, a fabulous pianist and composer, his third piano concerto, and Milwaukee Symphony did 3 performances of that to premiere it, and then I had 17 other orchestras in the project, plus, for the first time in an American commissioning project, a non-American orchestra, the Landestheater Orchestra in Flensburg in Germany. And we did 5 different cities. We did 5 concerts of Lowell's third concerto representing Europe, but they were also representing a non-U.S. orchestra in an American commissioning project. Then I brought Canada into a few with Taaffe Zwilich and Farhad Pupel, Iranian, and William Bolcom's Prometheus with Calgary. So I did a few Canadian premieres of American works and an Iranian work. And Calgary paid into it. And Niagara paid into the Zwilich, so they actually paid into the commissioning project. So that was kind of breaking ground and breaking down the walls between the borders so that orchestras outside of the U.S. could be part of American composer commissions.
Look at you, breaking walls, crossing borders.
Oh, yeah. Why not? Can't keep it contained.
Music is supposed to bring us all together anyway, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jeffrey, I know we're kind of up against it because you have a place to be, but tell everybody where they can find you on social media and if you have a website or whatever where they can check out more about you.
Basically, they could check out the YouTube recordings. You can look me up there. I think it's Biegel 88. There's 88 keys on the piano. I think it's that. The social media is not public.
Oh, okay.
I don't have public. They're just through friends and people I get to know and build relationships with, that they're not just public pages. But YouTube is great. The website's just jeffreybiegel.com, just gives you some information. But it's really finding videos and interviews and recordings through SoundCloud and YouTube and concerts. Just, I guess if you Google the name, you'll see, it'll show you where I'm playing, close to the time I'm playing. I don't keep a schedule on my website. My father being a police officer mentality in me, it's for security. He was a director of security also after he retired from the force. I learned not to do that because they said, well, why don't you put your schedule online? I said, because it tells everybody that I don't want to know I'm not home and I have family at home.
Sure.
So, I don't want to publicize when I'm not home. Why put your schedule on there? For the most part, most of those people won't be able to go to those concerts anyway. So I don't believe in putting a schedule online.
Well, there you go. I know that we had talked about, you play here and there, and we were just now talking about how you don't put your schedule up. How many dates a year do you play? You don't have to tell me which days you're not home, but...
I don't know. I've never counted.
Is it more than one?
Oh, yeah. The Rhapsody project alone, there'll be like 2 to 3 a month.
Gotcha.
Plus other things. And going to record a new piece next year by James Lee. It's Piano Concerto in A, which is a tribute to Gershwin's Concerto in F. So we're recording that with the Augustus Symphony. We're hoping to record it next year. It could be recordings. It could be new pieces. I'm doing a new piece this summer for America 250 and a few more projects coming up down the road by living composers. But I never counted the dates. I never did. I never thought. I see some people's schedules that just boggles my mind that they could go play in different cities 3 nights in a row, then a day off, then 3 nights in a row and a day off. The pop people do that all the time. How do you do that? I don't know. It's exhausting, but I guess they're used to it.
It sounds like your schedule is probably exhausting as well to regular, normal humans like us, like me.
Sometimes I'll have a dry month.
Sure.
Nothing. And then there'll be some work. It's never the same. It's not a secure profession at all. You always have to reinvent the wheel. You always have to have a new project that orchestras could book you with. There's very few people who they'll just keep hiring because their name will sell tickets. That's not so much the case like it used to be, unless you're a pop star. But in the classical world, you can count on one hand the names that they know will sell tickets, and it isn't always guaranteed even then. So I always like to have projects. Like I say to orchestras or to composers, it's not about me. It's not about my name. I'm not a household name, but I want the projects to bring people in that interests them to come to the concerts. It's about that.
Well, after appearing on Fascination Street podcast, Jeffrey, you will be a household name.
Oh, that's so sweet. You're so sweet. And, I'm very taken by the fact that you asked questions and things and did some research and knew about time I was in Norway with the composer and Lucy and different things that you knew. I'm like, wow, you really do a lot of, even Toledo, that interview you talked about. You do so much research and you really... I'm impressed and I respect that and I thank you for that because that's not many people take the time to really understand. I said that to the operations manager of the Wichita Symphony here. I said, how's your baby and your wife? He's like, how do you know? I said, when I go to an orchestra, I like to know the people that I'm going to be interacting with for 3, 4, 5 days. And, I saw that you don't have much Facebook presence, but your wife does. And I saw you were married and you know her for like 15 years, your childhood sweethearts, and you have a little baby. And I think it's great because that goes into the relationship I have as a visiting guest artist with the person that I'm dealing with, that we have to get things done during the week. And it makes it nice. I think it's important as a traveling artist to know the people that you're working with before you get there so that you can maximize that visit. Other than just showing up and thinking, you're a superstar and they're going to treat you like royalty. I don't believe in that. I think we're all in this together. And I love that idea of getting to know the people and build relationships because he may one day be the CEO of a major orchestra. I've had that happen a few times. That's the beauty of being in the business is making friends.
I think a lot of people forget that regardless of the business that anybody is in, everybody is in the people business. Everybody.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if you're a concert pianist or if you're a window washer. Like you're in the business of relating to your customers and the people. And if you can't do that and the people that you work with and around, you're not going to go very far if you don't realize you're in the people business.
Absolutely. My oldest son is a surgeon. I say, learn the business of medicine. It's a business. Learn the people, do the room, go to the conference, make friends. You never know when there's an opening somewhere, they're going to need you or whatever. It's like that. You never know when there's a cancellation to play a Beethoven concerto. You never know when there's going to be a cancellation for a gallbladder surgery. It's just, you're on call. And it makes it nicer when you build relationships in what you do so that it's not just the work you're doing, but it's the effect that you have on other people.
Well, what wonderful words to go out on. Jeffrey Biegel, oh my gosh. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic tickling the 88 ivories.
Likewise, thank you.
I guess they're not all ivory, right? Not all 88 of them are ivory?
Not anymore. Now they're banned. It's plastic. It's a different feeling. It's different, and they're all different. Every instrument is different, so you got to get used to it. It's like putting on different shoes everywhere you go. They fit right, but they feel different.
It's like putting on those rental bowling shoes. You're like, these aren't the shoes I'm comfortable with.
I know, it's a Steinway, but it feels different, you know.
It's not that 500,000th Steinway that you got to play.
Oh, that was a great experience. That's the one they said, which instrument do you want, when I did the first internet concert. It's the first live audio video concert back in 97. They said, I want the 500,000th. I want it to look futuristic. It was a great case. That piano was great. They're online. You can go to YouTube and see those videos, but it's jagged because they're all in real player, which just wasn't like streaming like we know now.
It looks weird and jagged because nobody had the internet in 97 except you.
Yeah, right. There was the only schools and big places had T1 fast lines, but it was mostly dial-ups.
Yeah.
The phone. So, yeah, but yeah, we made history with it. You know, why not? I like doing that. I like doing things that haven't been done before so that I could set the course for the future.
It shows. Jeffrey Biegel, get out of here. Go do your masterclass. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and hanging out with us, man. It was a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street.
Oh, thanks so much. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, buddy, and you have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Opening music is from the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Kosh, written, performed, and provided with the blessings of Kosh Mojo himself. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts. All episodes are available ad-free at patreon.com/Fascination Street Podcast. And don't forget to follow the show on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok. And again, thanks for listening.